And before we get started, I just want to give everybody a few housekeeping tips on Zoom. Please mute when you're not speaking. Feel free to use that chat function and with all of your questions and comments. Also, you can use the reaction functions to raise your hand if you need to catch our attention in the moment for a comment. And this webinar is being recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, please turn off your camera. Um, I'm really excited that Supervisor Walton could join us this evening. The board president and Supervisor Walton he grew up in the Bayview neighborhood and also in the Potrero Hill neighborhoods. I know that he attended El Dorado Elementary School at some time, and he participated in our 2019 Walk and Roll to School Day at El Dorado with a great smile. I know also that board president Walton is a champion for the youth in San Francisco. I first met him when he was a member and the board president then of the Board of Education in San Francisco. So without further ado, I'm gonna open up the floor to Supervisor Walton just to say a few words to our audience for right now and get us kicked off.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I just want to say I'm excited to see people participating in this webinar and excited about all of the work of Walk SF as we are getting back to the point where we're opening up again. Schools are going to be opening back up. We already have some of our schools that are in attendance right now. And so the work of Walk SF is very important. We want to do everything we can to make sure that our young people and our families can navigate through the streets of San Francisco without having to worry about being hit by cars or being unsafe. And Walk SF and the walking school bus has been a major way to do that. We've had them at Bret Harte. We've had them at other schools right here in our communities, and not only in Bayview Hunters Point, but in the entire District 10. And so I'm just glad that I'm going to have a conversation and let families know what options are available to them, how they can work to keep their children safe, and also it gives us the opportunity to spend time in our community, spend time with our children, walking to school and making sure that they make it there safely. So I'm excited that the webinar is happening. Obviously, our District 10 office is in full support. And if there are any questions or concerns that even come up after this, that families want to follow up with us about, of course, our doors are always open and we are here to support this endeavor and looking forward to actually walking to school with some of the families and some of the children at some point, hopefully in the near future. Thank you.
No, thank you for joining us today, Supervisor Walton, and thank you for promoting this event. So we've already met President of the Board of Supervisors and the District 10 Supervisor, Shaman Walton, and we've met the others here today, but just want to call them out for supporting us. Ms. Krista Highfield, Transportation Planner of the Sustainable Streets Division and San Francisco Safe Routes to School Coordinator at the SFMTA. Ms. Tiffany DeLu, a K-2 early childhood educator at E.R. Taylor Elementary School and a San Francisco Safe Routes to School teacher champion. And also Ms. Jackie Zabeta Chavez, a transportation coordinator with SFUSD Sustainability Department, and also a fellow member of the San Francisco Safe Routes to School Community Engagement Team. And today we're here to talk about walking school buses, but before we get started, I want to kick it off to Krista Highfield to tell you a little bit about the Safe Routes to School partnership and how we can serve communities and schools all over San Francisco.
Wonderful, and I'll keep this brief, but I just want to say that I am so happy to be here. So excited to be here with my Safe Routes to School colleagues and members of the public, our wonderful schools, and our supervisor, Shaman Walton. The Safe Routes to School partnership is something that I've been working with for 2 years and I'm so proud to be a part of. It consists of 4 city agencies, the SFMTA, who I work for, the Department of the Environment, the Department of Public Health, always critical for the safety of our public, and even more so in this past year with COVID, and of course, the school district, SFUSD. We have 4 wonderful nonprofit partners as well. The Walk SF Foundation, who's running this program tonight, San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, Tenderloin Safe Passage, which is part of Tenderloin Community Benefit District, and Y Bike, which is operated through the YMCA of San Francisco. So we're just all coming together around the safety and the sustainability of our students' trips to and from schools. And especially in this last year, there are trips everywhere in the city. We really value and want to support the safety of our students as they walk, as they bike, as they use our transit systems, and as they take cars around the city and especially to and from schools. So thank you all for being here and thank you for having me. I want to make a brief nod to our outgoing Safe Routes to School coordinator, who I believe has joined the meeting. That's Anna Vasudev, who's done such a wonderful job in the last 2 years and has a longer history with the partnership as a previous member of one of our nonprofit partners. So Anna, thank you for being here. If you wanted to say hello, that would be wonderful. Thank you for everything you've done for the program. And again, I'm just coming into this role as the acting coordinator. So glad to kick it off with this wonderful talk. Thank you, Vernon.
Thanks, Krista. I'm so happy to be here too and to cheer on the team and to get some critical work done in District 10 because we know that many of our high injury streets, go through District 10. So super privileged to be partnering with us on this event.
Thanks, Krista. Thanks, Anna. And now we just dive right in. So I just want to make sure before starting off that everybody has a clear understanding of what a walking school bus is. It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just simply when families and students walk together to school along a recommended route, and they allow other families and students to join in on that route at any point along the way. I want to share with you, first off, some of the amazing benefits that a walking school bus can bring to your school community. We've heard from families that they feel safer when they walk in groups because they have more eyes and ears to help to observe the surroundings of the area that's surrounding them. Also, they're more visible to the traffic and drivers. Walking school buses can help to model safe walking behavior as students get older. It also helps students to get to school on time. We heard from Malcolm X Academy in Hunters Point that after they started their walking school bus, they thought they saw a 30% reduction in truancy in just 3 months, and that's amazing. It also saves families lots of time. We hear from lots of parents that they're able to have peace of mind that their student will get to school safely and on time while they can make it to work on time themselves. Walking school buses build community. It helps for our students and families to get to know other families and students in their neighborhood. And they also get to learn their neighborhoods a little more intimately because they're walking instead of just driving through the neighborhood. I know that walking school buses also can help to reduce the congestion around schools for traffic. And that's going to be really important as we return post-COVID, because I've heard that the pickup and drop off regulations right now are making the traffic increase around schools. And lastly, and most importantly, they kickstart a lifetime of healthy habits. Like Supervisor Walton said, it's a great and easy way for parents and their students or families and their students to get out in the morning and have some exercise before school. This helps their students to be more focused and more relaxed while they're in class. And who better to share the benefits of a walking school bus than a parent, teacher, and walking school bus leader themselves, Ms. Tiffany DeLue. Ms. DeLue has been a teacher now for 25 years. 22 of those years have been spent at E.R. Teller Elementary School. And for the last 4 years, she's been a Safe Routes to School teacher champion. She says that after this year, as the pandemic and Zoom school, she thinks that she's seen it all. And now I'd like to welcome Ms. DeLue. Ms. DeLue, the first question we have for you is, what would you say are the top 3 benefits of having a walking school bus in the community?
Well, so community building, building leadership capacity with families and students, and modeling those healthy behaviors that you were talking about. Additionally, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, thank you. Next, we'd like to hear a little bit about how you chose the meeting location and route for the E.R. Taylor Walking School Bus.
So ER Taylor is close to Palega Rec Center, and I'm looking at my notes here. It's close to Palega Rec Center, and we decided that was going to be the best spot for our kickoff point. We tried a few other points for families that are on the other side of Bayshore. That proved a little problematic because of the lights and traffic over there. And then we found another place on San Bruno Ave near the subway. I forget the name of the street there, but near the subway. Restaurant and sandwich shop, and that was families felt the most comfortable leaving their children at Palega Rec, so that ended up being our spot. The reason that it also became popular was because you could access the school on bikes or scooters if you wanted, but via a different street that was a little less congested by the walkers, and then it provided our children two opportunities. One is that Palega is our evacuation site if there's an emergency. So the children got really familiar with what it would be like to evacuate the school via a few different things. But more, we don't have a play structure at our school. And so for early childhood development and gross motor, we use the park at Palega and the playground there. And so it allowed the children to familiarize themselves with the roads and get really safe at crossing those streets. And we found that that also allowed the children to use the playground on the weekends a lot better because they knew it so well. So kids were getting out a lot more after school and on the weekends.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that park is a great spot to start the route. I meet Miss DeLu there all the time for the walking school buses the first Wednesday of the month at ER Taylor. And the students and families love to hang out and chill while we're waiting.
Well, and the one thing, sorry, parents really feel safe leaving their kids alone there. A lot of other corners, they're like waiting until the last minute. They're like, see ya. So, yeah.
Next, Mr. Lou, we just want to know from you, what is your biggest reason for supporting the walking school buses at your school?
Well, so I was a volunteer before I took over the coordinator, and then I will return to being a volunteer. And so I've been at my school a long time and I've seen a lot of changes. And so I have a lot to say, but I'll try to condense it. Building community is key. And we'll see, post-pandemic how this plays out, but we have a lot of kids that get dropped off early and sort of unattended and are milling around on the streets or various places. We were able to use them and turn them into leaders. And basically they would help set up the tables to give out stickers and pencils or just do the tally marking. So we were able to build in that leadership with the students. We were able to build in leadership with families. And once you get, because we're a school that speaks about 6 different languages. And so we were able to recruit from different places and have those parents come, and even if we were all just laughing together, we all knew that we were just giving out stickers and getting ready to walk together. And that was really awesome to build leadership and community that way. Having that diverse leadership offers role models for all our students, so that a leadership role at the school doesn't look like someone like me. It can look like a Vietnamese mom, or it can look like an African-American dad, or it can look like just a mixed family. So it's really great to have that. It's healthy. Like I said, the kids use the park a lot more, and they come now to the school on the weekends because they know the neighborhood really well, because the school's open. And then also the board kids that would come and not really have anything to do, we were able to put them into support roles for those days when they were greeting people or directing them to the right table. And building leadership with the little kids, and then up to the big kids, they get to wear the vests and they feel really empowered to do that. They start to learn that they can interact with traffic by seeing and listening, and that they can be more of a presence in their community. And I'll stop there, but I have a lot to say about why it's so great.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Lou. We really appreciate all your love. And we hope that you'll stick around in case our audience members have some questions for you later. So now we've heard about all those great benefits, and I want to tell you how you can experience these benefits at your school, how easy it is to start a walking school bus. We're going to talk about how you should reach out to your community to find out their needs. We're going to talk about a little bit about picking a route. You've heard some of this already. We're going to talk about the importance of promoting the walking school bus. We're going to cover the public health and safety guidelines, because keeping safe and healthy is our #1 priority. And I'm going to tell you how you can get a walking school bus toolkit to get you started totally for free here today, just by filling out a survey after this webinar. Give you everything you'll need. And then we're gonna have another guest come in and tell you how you can get extra funding and resources to support your walking school bus throughout time. So the first thing we want to do is get out there and talk to our community. And we want to leave no stone unturned. We want to talk to teachers. We want to talk to volunteers, parents, community members and staff, and we want to build up a team. And we also want to talk to the school and find out what the need for this walking school bus is. You know, are we trying to get schools there on time? Are we trying to save parents time? Or are we just trying to get everybody to meet other families in the school and build community? And after we establish the needs of our walking school bus, then we want to start thinking about how we can choose a route. This route that's featured here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It's actually a route that I've walked for a walking school bus to George Washington Carver Elementary School. And we know, or we've heard already, that parks can be a great meeting location. And that's true. But when choosing a route, you want to make sure that it's fun, you want to make sure that it's safe, and you want to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. So at George Washington Carver, we first chose the route to the left, which is about a 6-minute walk from Hilltop Park, the new skateboard park up in Hunters Point, down to Carver Elementary School. But what we found out after a few days of trying to walk in school bus is that the students who really needed the most assistance getting to school, they lived in the Shoreview apartment complex. And if you see the picture on the right, then you'll see we decided to start our walking school bus actually at the Shoreview apartment complex. They have a park there, Shoreview Park. We started at that park where we can access the students that needed us the most. And then we would walk past Hilltop Park and pick up the families that waited there. And that only added a few extra, about 7 minutes to the route. Still a short route, a 13-minute walk. And we're all able to make it to school on time, safe, and have fun. And after we've chosen our route, we talk to our community, then we want to get out there and we want to promote our walking school bus. We want to promote. And we can promote the walking school bus all types of ways. You can use your school newsletter. You can use your school calendar. You can use social media. You can attend PTA meetings. You can flyer. You can even hang out after school and catch families and parents who are already walking and see if you can build up some hype. And when it comes to like flyers and promotional materials, don't worry, we've got you covered with that too. In our walking school bus toolkit, we're going to provide you with a template similar to the photo that you see on the right that you can use to help to promote to start your walking school bus in your community. And like I said before, staying safe and healthy is always our #1 priority. And so we want to go over a few DPH, Department of Public Health guidelines, just to make sure that we're staying on point with keeping safe and healthy when we're out there trying to start a walking school bus. Right now, the guidelines say that you can have a max of 75 participants. And if you have 75 participants in your walking school bus, then that's really awesome. And we'd love to come out and set up an event with you. But we recommend about 2 adult leaders for every 10 students is what we find manageable. We want to make sure to sanitize our equipment after every use. And we want to continue to use our PPE and also our masks and sanitizers. And also, we want to continue to remain 6 feet socially distanced. And like I said before, we're going to provide you with everything you need to start this walking school bus. So we're going to give you safety vests. We're going to give you stop signs. We even have masks, hand sanitizer, incentives, and promotional materials all for you. You can get this all for free just by filling out our survey after this webinar. And I'll even include a gift card to help walking school bus leaders get started with some light snacks and things like that for their walking school bus. Now, of course, we can't supply those materials forever. And we want to make sure that your walking school bus is sustainable over time. So for that, we've invited Ms. Jackie Zabeta Chavez today to talk to you a little bit about how you can get easy access to extra funding and free resources for incentives to supply to your students. Now, my first introduction to the Safe Routes to School program was actually working with Jackie at the walking school bus at Bessie Carmichael. And I know that over 10 years ago, Jackie started the first weekly walking school bus at Longfellow Elementary School. I know that Jackie also worked with the San Francisco Safe Routes to School team about 5 years ago to start the first walking school bus hub we have here in San Francisco at the San Francisco Excelsior Playground. And Jackie is always encouraging school staff and families to use sustainable modes of transportation to and from school, but she wants to make sure that it's fun, that it's easy for you, that it's beneficial, and that it's, of course, safe. And so now I welcome Ms. Jackie Chavez to talk about how we can apply for those grants and get extra incentives. Jackie?
Hi, thank you so much. So yeah, I started the first walking school bus in San Francisco 10 years ago as a parent volunteer at Longfellow, just trying to connect with my daughter's school. And what I found is once you have this walking school buses, how do you sustain it? How do you keep it being fun? How do you keep getting these? Because let's face it, kids do need incentives. I need incentives sometimes. So the first walking school bus that I did 10 years ago, there wasn't really a walking school bus. So I went to my PTA. So for those of you who have a PTA at your school, my PTA provided me with the funds to buy the bike that we gave away at the end of the year. So the incentive the first year was just something as simple as a drawing ticket. So the more you walked, the better your chances were to win that scooter bike at the end of the year. So the first year it was just about buying drawing tickets and the PTA buying the scooter for me. Then the second year people heard about it, and Supervisor John Avalos was gracious enough to buy another bike. So the second year we gave away 2 bikes. So one we gave away in December and one we gave away at the end of the school year. So I would not hesitate to ask your your supervisor, your district supervisor, if their office would like to donate or contribute to your walking school bus. I found that mines were very generous like that. Another way that I found, and this was a great funding, and it so coincided with Walk and Roll to School Day, was the Clean Air Day in California by the Clean Air Coalition. They have this wonderful yearly grant where they provide, it used to be $1,000, now it's $750. And it's a very simple grant, and it happens to be right about the same time that Walk and Roll to School Day is. So, and I guess maybe Brian can chime in from the Clean Air, but I guess Clean Air Day happens to be the first Wednesday of October, just like Walk and Roll to School Day. So for 3 years, I have received $1,000 from the Clean Air Coalition on a simple Google form application. It couldn't have been more than 2 pages, very simple grant to fill out. It's yearly, so you can almost count on this funding. And it really does help you throw out a great party. With that kind of, you could really throw out a really nice clean air walk to school day party. I've had already 2 schools, Longfellow and Guadalupe, who have applied for these grants and been awarded. So again, I'm sure they'd love to have more participation from more schools. So that's a great resource. And for resources, I have turned to the EPA. They have been gracious enough to, every year for the last 5 years, have given me activity books, pencils, pens, stickers. They even come out and table. They've actually come out to my walk and roll events and set up a table and given away yo-yos and talk about clean air and talk about the environment and why we should be walking to school. So, and they are always happy to help me out every year. So these are 3 real simple ways to help sustain your walking school bus in a yearly way. And they have put on the links on the chats there, the links for these grants. And Elaine, maybe you have your email on the chat. So if anybody here wants to contact you about those wonderful materials, they can do so. Another big source has always been going to the National Safe Routes to School Partnership. They have a lot of grants that have to do with parks, how to parks and safe routes to schools. I use a park. I use the Excelsior Park so that 3 schools meet at this one park. And then at their time, they all leave at different times, but they leave within their group. So they're really trying to activate us using parks. That's a more complicated grant. You really probably have to be a little bit more expert in the grant writing, but it's also a lot bigger, like $10,000. And so, but if you have that expertise, you could check out those grants on a bigger level. But the first 3 resources, your board of supervisor, your unit PTA is always willing to help, even buying a scooter as a grand prize, you know, or a banner. My PTA also bought the banner that we would hang out in the front of the school that reminded kids every day that Walk to Win Wednesdays. And then we take down that banner every Wednesday and walk with it. So those are 3 easy fundings that anybody can get started with and take advantage of.
Thank you, Jackie, for supporting walking school buses, being a real champion, and for sharing these resources. We know, especially, and we know that D10 is a community that can always use extra resources and support. So thank you for joining us today. And before we wrap up, I know we talked about a lot, so I just want to summarize and make sure that we remember everything that we discussed today. First, we want to get out there and determine if a walking school bus meets your community's needs. We want to make sure that we plan a route that is fun, safe, and accessible for everyone to join in. And we want to promote. We know that promotion is key to success. And we want to let others know about our walking school bus. You heard a lot of benefits today and great testimonies. So you can go back and actually share the stories that you've heard and let people know that this is something to really get jazzed up about. Also, we want to remember to stay safe, follow those public health guidelines. And you don't have to worry. The Safe Routes to School Partnership has your back. You can always reach out to me at Walk San Francisco, Vernon at walksanfrancisco.org. And please remember to fill out our survey after this webinar so that I can get you started with that walking school bus toolkit that comes with everything you'll need to have a successful walking school bus in your community. And now we just want to open up before we open up the floor to questions, we just have a few polling questions for our audience. We'd like you to take just 2 questions if you fill out those, please.
Vernon, on the scale of 1 to 5, would 5 be the most likely to let your students participate?
5 would be the most likely.
Okay, so 1 least likely, 5 most likely. Thank you, Vernon.
Sam, can you show the results? I don't have.
I believe I'm sharing the results right now.
All right, cool. Thank you. I can't see them on my screen. Well, we'd like to thank everybody for participating, and now we just like to open the floor up to questions to our audience. And you can use the chat function or the reactions and raise your hand and unmute yourself just to ask a question.
While we're waiting for anyone who might think of some questions, this is Krista Highfield with SFMTA, again, the Acting Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator. If anyone has any questions now or later about SFMTA specifically, or about resources or connections you might like to have with SFMTA, please feel free to reach out to me either in this webinar or through email. I put my email address in the chat. It is krista.highfield@sfmta. That's CRYSTHIGHFIELD@sfmta.com. If I don't know the answer, I'm very happy to find it for you or connect you to it. We also have a Safer to the School email address that I can connect you with later. As the acting incoming coordinator, I do not yet have access to that email address, so I don't want to share it too widely just yet because there might be a lag in response. But any questions that you have that are related to the SFMTA, do feel free to contact me. Thank you.
I see Jody has her hand up.
Hi, Vernon. Thanks for hosting this walking school bus. I thought that there was a really great question earlier on in the chat, and I thought that it should be maybe discussed with the other members of the team. It looks like Vanessa asked, how far is your walk? And so I think it's a great question to be like, how far is an average walk on a walking school bus? Can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, I'd say a half a mile to a mile is a good walk for parents, no more than that. The walk from ERTA from Palega Playground is maybe 3 blocks. Those are pretty long blocks over there, so it could be a little shorter, maybe it's like 2 blocks, but I think about a half a mile to a mile is a good walk.
Can you share that in time versus distance?
So as far as time, I would say it can vary. Different walking school buses, different schools have different start times, and also you want to factor that in when you're picking your route. So, I like to keep it under 15 minutes. I feel like that's reasonable. So if you have to huff it, you can make it to school on time. Nobody's late.
Thanks. Another question in the chat from Vanessa. Do parents sign waivers? Great question, Vanessa.
Walking school buses have used waivers before in the past. Also, if I know that the National Safe Routes to School Partnerships materials come with waivers that you can offer out to parents. Also things like, and I can share these resources with you later. I have them already, so you don't have to hunt. Also, some walking school buses use things like, people have cell phones now, but they used to use like a phone log where they have the contact information of everybody's there, so that they can keep in touch with the members and let people know what time they'll be starting and if anything changes or cancellations.
Vernon?
Yes.
I also want to say that I don't want anybody get discouraged or have waivers be a barrier. I've never used a waiver. If it's a parent-led or a volunteer-led program and not a school-led program, no, waivers really aren't needed. When it's a school-led program, it is. But if you don't have waivers, or if that gets complicated and you're a parent leader, you don't have to have a waiver. You could, but you don't have to.
Thanks, Jackie. Glad we got a lot of experience in here today. So, are there any other questions out there?
I have a question. Would your recommendations change at all for younger students versus older students? Say if you're walking with predominantly 1st and 2nd graders versus possibly more 4th and 5th graders?
For me, yes. My rule of thumb is that the smaller, I try not, like small little kids under 3rd grade, I try to keep it 3 blocks. Because they got little legs, they don't walk as fast, and the walk could take a lot longer, you know, with the shorter legs. So I try to keep it 3 blocks to 6 blocks. When you get to high school or middle schoolers, I go 6 blocks to a mile. Elementary school, when they're little kids, I go 6 blocks and under, maybe even 3 blocks if they're really tiny kids.
We have another question from Brian asking, how long has the program been around?
Are you talking about the Safe Routes to School partnership, Brian?
The particularly the bus, walk the bus.
I don't know the exact answer for that. Oh,
Walking school buses were first a thing in Europe, then they moved to the East Coast. And in San Francisco, the Safe Routes to School partnership started implementing and developing walking school buses in 2008, 2007, 2008 was when San Francisco jumped on that Safe Routes bandwagon and did yearly walking events. That's when we started celebrating Walk to School Day. And then it caught on and became a weekly thing at some schools. At some schools, it's a monthly thing, and at some schools, it remains a yearly thing.
Jackie, maybe you want to answer this, or maybe you don't. Have you seen any policy implications come out of this? Have policymakers taken notice and then, you know, change things?
I've seen them take notice and support our work. I've seen them they've actually come and participated personally at the Excelsior Walk and Roll Hub and have witnessed for themselves how one park can bring 3 schools together before school and to make use of this land, of this park, and then go to school already energized. And for the most part, we have been very well supported by our supervisors for the last few years. I don't know if Krista wants to jump on this one, or Anna, if she's still on the policy end.
Well, Anna has exited, but I can say that the fact that we have a Safe Routes to School program is a policy support measure. It's a city-sponsored, city-funded program with 4 city agencies participating and supporting, along with our 4 wonderful nonprofit partners. So in San Francisco, it's a fairly well-supported program that's well established at this point. Some recent developments we've seen are an expanding interest in programs like the Tenderloin Safe Passage program. Tenderloin Safe Passage has an amazing program that works alongside Safe Routes, where they have what are called corner captains. So instead of necessarily walking with the students, the Tenderloin Safe Passage program has community ambassadors stationed at certain corners to keep an eye out and protect students from any environmental hazards that might come up during their walks to and from schools or through the community in general. So that is having growing interest that I know that there's talk about supporting and expanding into other neighborhoods in the San Francisco neighborhoods.
and I see that Mr. Lou has a hand up, and I also see a question in the chat. I'll start with the chat, and it's how do parents become comfortable? Because I also think maybe Mr. Lou can share some insight on this. But how do parents become comfortable dropping off their kids? Vanessa, I know for me, the parents, you know, I try to go and establish, I learned from Jackie that establishing a relationship with the schools is really great. It's really important. So, you know, I try to show my face. I try to get to know the school community, the admin, the teachers, the staff, and also the students. You know, I try to be there at pickup times and drop off times so that I can see the families that are walking and like already using sustainable modes, and then and make, you know, let them know what I do and make them comfortable with seeing me around there. So, and also having involvement from people that are trusted in the community, volunteers, teachers, other staff members that parents already know. that makes it really, that's really important. That's why it's really important to get out there and talk and spread the word and try to get people enlisted, because that makes it really easy to gain some credibility. You know, if the students, if the parents and families see me out there with Mr. Lou or with Jackie or with someone they know from the school, then it makes it really easy for them next time that they see me to say, hey, you know, I know who that guy is. Yeah, it's safe. And also just getting other families to walk too, you know, other parents to walk, and they maybe they're not always that comfortable with me, but you know, if they see another parent there, then they can trust that that parent has their student's best interest at heart too. So getting the families involved. And Mr. Lou, I see your hand up, please.
Oh, yeah, no, I was gonna say two things about the sort of the policy as well. And then back to what you were just saying, yeah, having teachers is a really key thing, even if they can't come every time, getting different grade level teachers to participate as often as possible, because they are the face of the school. And so when they're out there, and then they're also, you know, like Vernon, you would come to my classroom all the time and check in with me. And then I introduced you to the after school program, and then you were doing programming with the after school program with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And suddenly we had a whole different dialogue about street safety at our school. Parents would see you both at the walk to school event and in the after school program. And then that leads me back to that policy piece. So one of the work, some of the work that Vernon was doing and his colleagues was coming to the after school program and working with our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And they would go out and look at our community and see what are the streets that are safest, what are not, you know, what is not. They would actually see the speed of cars and see the speeds and, you know, the speed signs and all that, and see the school zones. The kids were really enlightened. It also helped their parents. The parents were like, wait, my kid's telling me I'm driving too fast all the time, which is great. And so from that end, we also have a lot of people in our neighborhood that then started going to community meetings and asking for stop signs or for more visible crosswalks. We're a pretty neglected neighborhood. We're on the southeast side of the city, and we are the last people to ever get our potholes filled or to get a stop sign put or to get lights fixed. And I will say that there was a period of about 4 years that really a lot of work happened leading up to pandemic, where we did get stop signs, we did get those crosswalks repainted. They did finally answer some questions about why they were not going to do these things that we had been asking for a number of years. But it really upped the participation of our community. And also, you know, they were writing letters to the supervisors, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders saying, so everybody's driving like 40 and it's a 20-mile zone, and what are you gonna do about it? And it was pretty awesome to get a letter back from our, you know, from Hillary Ronan to the kids. They were like, well, we didn't like her answer, but that was cool. So, you know, so it's terrific that way.
Thank you, Mr. Blue. So folks, we're getting close to time. If there's anything else anybody would like to share before we wrap up, or if there's any burning questions, please get them in now. If not, I just want to thank everybody for joining. I really want to give another shout out to all of our guests. Mr. Lou, thank you very much. Jackie, thank you very much for joining in. Krista, thanks for supporting. Also, Brian, thanks for coming in. We really appreciate you popping in, sharing those resources. This will be great to share out through the recording.